Hello everyone and welcome to the Fremont Reformation event, the EARTH-ROMULAN War. Today I'm joined by Jeff and we're just going to do a breakdown of 6 videos for each of the different scenarios, just demonstrating how to set up and any potential problems you may face. These are going to be relatively short videos, and feel free to keep chucking questions at us in the Discord if you need to. But I'll move over to my page now and hand over to Jeff, and we'll go from there.
Sounds good. Well, yeah, this is going to be a really fun event. Every single game will be a Fed pure fleet against a ROM pure fleet, and so a lot of imbalances and mismatches. And also, we didn't want it to just be a straightforward joust each time. So each scenario is a little different and even well suited to different types of fleets. So this ought to be interesting to see what fleets do well. This particular scenario, I guess we can start setting up, Nick, since it's
Okay.
um,
So
while we talk,
yeah.
I'll talk and you set up. Okay. So the idea here is there's a weapons research base in the very middle, which is represented by a space station obstacle and acts like a space station obstacle. And each fleet's goal is to get as many ships as possible inside of range 2 of that space station, and we're basically trying to recover research materials. So you'll roll for initiative. We're just going to play that Nick has initiative on all these because that's what happened last time we rolled. And so you're each placing debris obstacles, which are the named obstacle where if you move into it, you suffer an extra damage. These are not things that you can click on and get range from, but you can hold the tab key down, as you see Nick doing there.
Yeah.
And as long as you're within 4 or greater, then you're enough distance from all other things.
Yeah. So a little tip for anyone who doesn't know. Yeah, holding down tab on things that aren't locked will measure distance between them. And yeah, 4 inches is one range. So
you could do it with these rulers, but unfortunately they only rotate in big increments, so they're kind of hard to manipulate.
Tab is
unlike real life.
incredibly handy to use.
Yeah.
So
I'll put this over here.
So yeah, again, so with the space station, provided all these debris are not within range 1 of it, space station in the middle. The board will not normally look like this. It will normally look like this. However, I just had it highlighted so that you'd see where to place the debris. In the meantime, what we'll do is we will just mention one more thing to do with the cloaked mines. Did you want to go through that one, Jeff?
Yeah, sure. So I have a couple cloaked mines here. Normally, why don't you put some ships out, Nick?
Okay.
Just to for
Just
me to
on the board.
run off of. Yeah. So normally, with cloaked mines, it's only about the enemy ships. You have to be at least range 2 away from all the enemy ships. In this particular scenario, there's a very tempting target if you have cloaked mines, which is basically to just drop one down in the middle of the board or a couple near the middle of the board, and it really makes it hard because the goal for both sides is to stay within range 1 to 2 of the space station. So for this particular scenario, we do have a special rule that when you're placing a cloaked mines down, you have to also consider the space station as a ship that you need to be range 2 away from. So I would not be able to just drop one here, even though it would be 8.0 approximately from the enemy ships. I have to also stay away from the center space station here. So it definitely makes it harder to do super powerful things with cloaked mines. You have to kind of put it somewhere around the edge of this box, or maybe on this corner here would also fit.
Yeah, we've seen certain players. A tournament I went to recently with Has.
I hate that. Yeah.
Has being the toxic player that he is, put the minefield on the objective and made it a miserable experience for everyone that day. And I'm sure he's laughing his ass off right now. But yes, so we didn't want that to discourage players this time. So this rule, minefields are still usable. They are still effective. You can still manipulate other parts of the map because, let's face it, it's going to be very difficult to stay in this middle bit and navigate through all these debris fields and the space station. Um,
Yeah.
so they
I,
are still usable, but
I think maybe I forgot to say the purpose of or the way you win this scenario, and we should make sure to mention that is just it's not about killing the other fleet.
yeah,
You're trying to accumulate points gradually. So each round at the end of the combat phase, you count up for each side how many ships, just how many total ships they have within range 1 to 2 of that center base thing. So um, you can either
so in this particular case, we've got two of your ships. So we've got one in range one, one at range two. I have one ship at range one, but I've got a ship that's just outside of that range two. So at the end of the combat phase for this particular round, you would gain the faction point for your faction, which we will use either an objective token or a mission token. It's entirely up to you, but you can use that to represent the faction points that you win. So Jeff, for example, would win a faction point for that round. And of course, at the end of the timer, the 75 minutes, whoever's got the most faction points for their faction will win the game, and ultimately those faction points will go into the main war effort for their faction.
right. So in a lot of attack wing games, you're kind of really focused on what's the value of that ship to try and destroy or that other ship and to build up points that way. Here, that's only peripherally useful in that it reduces the number of enemy ships that can gather points, but you don't get points for killing another ship. You're just trying to um, basically succeed at your mission, which is to gather as much research materials from the base as possible. And the game still ends when one fleet is completely destroyed or after 75 minutes, but it's really a very different way of keeping score
Yeah.
than what we might be used to.
Okay. That probably covers everything for now, I think, on this one.
Yeah, let me just say one more thing along that last point is you can end the game by one side being completely destroyed, but if you try and force that happening to your own fleet, if you were to fly a ship off the board, you would lose 2 faction points for that. So there's not going to be an artificial way to put an end to the game just because you're winning.
Yeah.
That sort of tactic is going to be penalized pretty heavily because it's for each ship.
Yeah. That's a very good point. Yeah. Okay. Right. So that takes care of scenario number one. We will
Yeah,
be doing separate videos for each of the other scenarios. So we will see you in those.
thanks.